Hello, everybody, and welcome back. Good to talk to all of you again today. And first things first, Merry Christmas, everybody. I hope you all having yourselves as good of a Christmas as you possibly can, considering the circumstances. I know 2020 really hasn't been all that great, and hopefully better 2021 ahead. Still, if you had the opportunity to see family and well, at least I hope you had the chance to, right? Also, I hope you had the chance to at least have some good food. So, Merry Christmas and of course, Happy New Year. Anyways, how many of you noticed this technical change recently? It says, that there is now a maximum of 100 unopened containers allowed, right? And a lot of you probably looked at that and went, okay, so what? Well, the so what part is going to be talked about today. You might notice that I am in the process of selling a bunch of ships on this press account, which is probably the exact same press account that you noticed me using for the 1000 and 3000 crate opening video. But at this particular time, I have 248,000 doubloons. And you're like, what's happening here? Well, I guess this whole video will hopefully shed some light on this. Of course, do remember that this is no longer possible. That's what the technical change is for. And because that technical change now exists, I can finally actually talk about it, because if I did this before this, I would have gotten myself into some serious trouble. So that's good. No more trouble. That's good. All right. So what's the deal? Well, the whole Santa crate system, I guess, is a little bit, the design of it, I guess, is a little bit interesting. And the way I can explain it is, let's start at the beginning, right? So the way the Santa crates operate, at least from sort of common knowledge, is that if you are missing ships, you buy a bunch of crates. It scans your inventory for all the missing ships, and then it predetermines whether or not you will get those ships in the amount of crates that you've bought. But it only does this for like 100 crates at a time. So let's say you bought 100 crates, which is the maximum you can buy at any one time. Those 100 crates would scan your inventory, say, okay, what are you missing? And then say, okay, within these 100, you're going to get these ships. But you can only get one of all the ships that you're missing that's on the drop list, like once per 100 crates. Now, an interesting thing happens if you can stack crates, because let's say you're missing, like, let's say 8 ships or 9 ships. So the first 100 crates goes, yep, you're missing those 8 or 9 ships. Let me give it to you. So you get the first copy of all those 8 or 9 ships. But let's say you buy another 100 containers on top of that. The next 100 containers does the same scan. It goes, oh yeah, you're missing those 8 or 9 ships. Let me give you like 8 of those 9 ships. Aha, but those ships end up being duplicates. And what happens is when you get duplicates is you get compensated in doubloons. As you open containers, you also get extra doubloons directly as well. So in this particular case, I'm missing a bunch of ships, including some of the crap ones like the Makarovs or whatever. I'm missing a bunch of them. And I've opened the first 362 containers. Apparently that's all I could get my hands on. And what's going to happen is I'm going to get the, all the ships I'm missing the first time around, and then you'll see me get a bunch of duplicates. I'll start to get like second or third copies of ships. And I'll also get 29,000 direct doubloons. And what ends up happening is, if with all the duplicates that I managed to pick up and the direct doubloons, you'll notice that the compensation down there is 222,100 from all the duplicates. Then the other 29,000, and suddenly you might realize that, wait a minute, you got a little bit more than the initial 249,000 that you had. And so, if you sort of do the same process again, sell a bunch of the tier, like, the high tier 8, tier 9 ships, obviously, there's no particular ones I'm selling right now, but generally speaking, what you want to be selling is like Benham, Georgia, Pomeran, so those are the 3 tier 9s, and then you want to sell Enterprise, you want to sell Graf Zeppelin, because those are the next 2 highest value ones, and then you want to sell things like Roma and Vanguard, and like, whatever the next sort of super high valuable ones are. You'll see me sell like Turpits or whatever, right? Okay, and so if you have enough of them sold, usually like, and there's a range, right? So the range is anywhere between like 6 to 8, depending on how many initial containers you were going to get. Like 6 of the most valuable with like, 300 containers is a possibility. It's like, I don't know, 70% chance of going positive. If you went a little bit higher, like say 400 containers with like 7 of the most valuable ships, again, it was like 85% chance of getting positive. But as soon as you get closer to like 500 and you had like 8 ships missing, you were almost guaranteed to always go positive. There was just so many of the ships you were getting the duplicates of, that it would actually, that plus the direct compensation will actually put you positive, and then you could just keep rolling and rolling and rolling and rolling and rolling to infinity and beyond. Like, you could accumulate like 100 years worth of premium. Okay, yeah, so you can probably understand why Wargaming put that technical limitation in, and you can't buy more than 100 crates at any one time now, because yeah, unexpected consequences of their decisions. You also now understand why I didn't want to put this video out until after that change came in. But anyways, as I was testing all of the standard crates, just sort of like the regular ones or whatever, is there a question that I have to fundamentally answer that people have asked me is, are these containers actually kind of fair, or like what's going on with them? Or, who should buy them? Or is there an optimal time to go in, like what kind of order? And you can watch the background, by the way. Like I keep doing this cycle just to see if I'll ever actually end up losing doubloons. But no, I just keep going positive constantly. But anyways, okay, answering those questions. So the way these standard crates work is kind of really, really interesting. So let's say you're missing a bunch of the really like crap ships, right? And let's say you just straight up went ahead and you bought like, whatever, let's say 100 containers. So those 100 containers will scan your inventory, or your port. Let me correct that wording here. Scan your port. Go like, what's missing? Okay, so you're missing these garbage ships. Okay, you're also missing these like really, really good ships. And then basically what happens is that pretty much the priority is, okay, let's fill out your crap ships. And that's where you will typically see like a copy of a Makarov. You'll get a Yudachi. You'll get a Krasny Krim. You'll get all like the really meh ships, right? The really kind of blah ships. Okay, but now that you've accumulated those ships, let's say you buy another 100 containers, right? The next 100 containers now scans your port and says, okay, well, you've got a lot of those crap ships again. Let's not give you those again. Let's now give you like some of the slightly better ships, right? And so really the goal is to keep you kind of going, right? Like you get enough things in it that you go, okay, that was kind of worth it. Let's try again, right? And that's really the purpose, is to kind of keep you going. Now, for those of you who are wondering, like, why on earth did you buy the 1,000 or the 3,000? Well, obviously because, eventually you go, hey, there's this interesting little quirk going on. All right, cool. It gives me a chance to test more stuff, right? Like, the more doubloons I get, the more random things I get to test. By the way, don't ever buy mega or small containers. None of those two are worth it, by the way. The mega and the small are like garbage in terms of returns of what they give you. The mega is the amount you're putting in. You're basically buying the ship outright, essentially, for cost of doubloons. The big containers are actually the best value per se. Chances of getting stuff back is the best. Anyway, so stick with the big ones. All right, sorry, I kind of got a little tiny bit off topic. Let me kind of bring myself back again. So that's pretty much the containers. They're not super fair, right? They're not like totally random. You're always assigned kind of these really ships first. And then let's say you buy the next 100, right? Then you get some of the slightly better stuff. You'll see some of the like the tier 8s pop up, whatever. But you're still not really getting like the super rare things, right? It's only really at the end, that's where you get the really like coveted things. So yeah, it's not really fair. Is there an ideal sort of like situation where you should be buying containers? I mean, if you really wanted to like just say, hey, I'm a veteran, I've bought a bunch of stuff already, I'm just missing a bunch of stuff from this year, yeah, I would say go for it. That'd probably be a good way to like just fill out all the remaining ships at a reasonable cost. If you're a beginner and you don't really care, you just like, oh, I don't know anything, I'm just like, the containers can give you things, but you're more likely to get bad things. If you're in the middle somewhere, I mean, again, if you have the bad things already, then you're more likely to get the better things. If you only have the good things right now, then you're going to be getting a lot more of the bad things. It's just, we can kind of understand why Wargaming puts out really substandard ships now. Like, they kind of need to fill out those kind of terrible sides, like the really bad things, so that they can kind of entice you to buy more, right? Because imagine if you have actually a random chance of getting like all the best stuff, but like right from the get-go, you probably won't buy more, right? So yeah, um, not a huge fan, I would say, of the way the crates kind of are, in terms of that non-randomness. I think if they'd stuck to purely random, I think it would have been a lot more fair. I think they would have had a lot less, you know, anger, hatred, whatever you want to call it, directed at them for whatever this was. Yeah, but hey, I mean, and then among all of that, they actually had this thing in the background, which is just like, oh man. And you can see it, like just think about it. Every time you run this cycle, right? Like, at least when I was running and testing it, it was basically unlimited everything, because your doubloons start to go, and just kept cycling bigger and bigger and bigger, because the more crates you get at the same time, the greater your gains were for every cycle. Your premium days would increase like astronomically to like like insane number of years. Flags would increase to like insane numbers. Camouflage was like go to insane numbers. Like, yeah, pretty much it was a one large final investment in, and you'd never have to really spend money again. So kind of expect why Wargaming would go ahead and patch the crap out of it and limit it to 100. But anyways, that's the story behind the Santa crates. What was the big like sort of error that they kind of built into these things, and what they ended up doing about them. And basically it also shows you how these things work, because like the ability to have done that is actually what shows you how the crates work, right? Like the fact that they only generate duplicates on the next 100 on what you're missing, right? That the fact that you had to be missing like more than X number of high value ships before it would start to work, right? And it goes to show you sort of like what would the priorities be? Like what is the first priority of giving you what, right? And then what is it later on going to give you? Because you'll notice on my first roll, it was like, hey, we're just going to give you the garbage, like the Makarov, the Yudachi, whatever you're missing. And then later on, it was like, oh, okay, hold on a second. Now you've got those. Now we're just going to fill out, the valuable things or whatever. It's a really interesting process. And through it, you really got to see how these things work. And so, yeah, I hope you enjoy that. I mean, it's a fun little science experiment, let's call it that way. Do remember, again, I have to say this again, this was on a press account. So, like no money was spent. No one was harmed. Wargaming didn't lose any money on, with me doing this on a press account. They didn't gain any money either. It's a cool little science experiment. They patched it, they fixed it, so all's good. But it's still a cool thing to learn about and to see how the whole process played out. And I hope that was interesting to all of you. Anyways, folks, that's pretty much it for me today. Take care of yourselves. Be safe out there. And I will talk to all of you again in another video soon. I'm working on something a little bit more technical, a little bit more like technical boats things, which is, yeah, you'll see. It should be interesting. So until next time, be safe again. Take care, and I'll see you all again next time.